I'm Jeremy Hoffman, and I am from Bettendorf, Iowa, um, just across the river from Augustana. What did I do at Augustana? I did a lot of stuff while I was an undergraduate at Augustana College. I was involved with the Udden Geology Club. I was a geoscience major, geology major. I also participated in the Augustana Choir, ended up being the vice president of the Augustana Choir. I was involved in the Haywire improv troupe. I was in theater. I played music at the Brew by the Slough, and was also a honorary member of Delta Omega Nu fraternity. So I was a busy person when I was at Augustana. And one last thing, I had a radio show. So we were always really involved on campus. I graduated in 2011 and immediately started a PhD program at Oregon State University in Corvallis, Oregon. That took about 5 years for me to complete my PhD in geology, but I focused on paleoclimate reconstruction, basically using geological principles to understand more about climate change in Earth's recent history. And what do I do now? I'm the chief scientist at the Science Museum of Virginia in Richmond, Virginia. And I'm also an affiliate faculty or an adjunct faculty at Virginia Commonwealth University, teaching physical geography, as well as contributing to courses in the urban planning and Center for Environmental Studies programs.
My name is Lydia Ruelas Durán, and I am originally from Cicero and Berwyn, Illinois. I am a graduate of Morton West High School, and in 2005, I graduated from Augustana College. I received a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology with a concentration in Anthropology, and I also minored in Spanish and Women and Gender Studies. When I was a student on campus, I was involved in the Multicultural Programming Board, Latinos Unidos, and the Ladies of Vital Essence. I also served as an admissions ambassador. I received the John F. Lopez Fellowship through a partnership with the college and the National Hispanic Institute, and I also studied abroad in Ecuador, Peru, Chile, and Mexico in the fall of 2003. Immediately after graduating from Augustana, I moved down to Austin, Texas to work for the National Hispanic Institute. It's a leadership organization that works with high ability youth in order to develop their leadership capacities. Today, I am a high school English teacher in Delano, California.
Hi, my name is Cameron Onuma. I'm a 28-year-old young professional living here in Los Angeles, California. I graduated from Augustana College in 2014, and I studied political science and communications studies. I was president of the Student Government Association, elected as a sophomore, served my junior and senior years. I was general manager of WOG, the radio station. I was very active in Rho Nu Delta, which was my fraternity. I was president of the Black Student Union, which was really awesome for 2 years, my sophomore and junior years at Augustana College. And I have to tell you that experience completely changed my life, and I really believe being a student at Augustana and my education gave me the tools to really find a little bit of success in my life. Immediately following graduation from Augustana, I went to work in politics in Los Angeles. I worked for Dianne Feinstein, a United States Senator from California. She's a senior U.S. Senator, and I worked in the Senate in the LA office, working on issues around diversity and criminal justice reform and issues affecting the African American community. I worked on environmental justice issues. I worked on environment issues pertaining to water and the drought in California. I worked closely with police departments. I went on ride-alongs with the LAPD, the Highway Patrol, the sheriffs. In that capacity, at that job, I toured Men's Central Jail in Los Angeles, which is probably the most egregious county jail that you could ever see. I toured a state prison. I met with criminals and learned more about their experience. And really earned a heart for recidivism, for addressing recidivism, rather. That was an amazing experience. Following my time in the Senate, I continued to work for Feinstein, but in a political capacity. I'm a bit of a talker. She realized that, and so I was political director on her 2018 re-election and got to travel all over the state campaigning for the senator, which was a real blast. And since 2018, November of 2018, I joined Amazon in a corporate capacity where I lead public policy and external affairs for Southern California, working very closely with elected officials and community leaders and kind of high visibility individuals in Los Angeles to really build Amazon's corporate profile. I work really closely with Amazon Studios and Prime Video. For those of you Maisel fans or The Boys fans or Jack Ryan fans, I get to work really closely with that team on a lot of our entertainment related policy issues, and so it's a really exciting job that I have that I really do owe the education that I received at Augustana College for putting me in a position to be here today. And outside of work, I'm also very involved in politics. So I'm the vice president of the Los Angeles County Young Democrats, which is the largest local Young Democrats chapter in the nation. We have a couple thousand members. I'm also on the board of the San Fernando Valley Young Democrats. I'm on the state committee for the Democratic Party. Some think I'm running for office. I don't know where they would get that from, but I like to be really involved in my community, and so just like I was when I was a member of the Augustana community.
Hi everyone. First of all, welcome to my dining room. My name is Colleen Kilbride. I'm from Rock Island, Illinois. At Augustana, I majored in Spanish. I minored in Latin American studies, sociology, religion. I was involved with campus ministries, student government association, Sigma Pi Delta, played a little lacrosse, worked at the library, and went on Latin American term my sophomore year. I graduated in 2009. Immediately after graduating, I worked as a nonprofit paralegal through the Jesuit Volunteer Corps in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, at Catholic Charities Legal Services, where I represented and helped on cases for survivors of domestic violence and family-based petitions. Then I took a year and moved to El Paso, Texas on the US-Mexico border and did more family-based petitions for residency and citizenship. And after that, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer after being 2 years of a paralegal. I moved to DC and worked there for 6 years in the organized labor movement while going to law school at night. Then, since then, I've relocated. I now live in Chicago, and I'm a senior attorney at the National Immigrant Justice Center. It goes by the acronym NIJC, and we represent immigrants. So I specialize in asylum, and I represent families and individual asylum seekers throughout the state of Illinois and the Midwest, as well as individuals detained at the border, especially in Texas, and those, unfortunately, that have been separated from their children. I'll talk more about family separation later. And I also represent families that are caught in Mexico in their Remain in Mexico program. So I do a lot of asylum work.
I received the John F. Lopez Fellowship through a partnership between the college and the National Hispanic Institute. And it was the summer before my senior year that I spent 7 weeks in Texas working for the organization, understanding their philosophies and participating in the developmental leadership experiences that they provide to high school students. After those 7 weeks, I realized that my life's purpose was changed. I decided that I was going to commit myself to advancing the life of Latinos in the United States. I felt that this was something that I needed to participate and be involved in because I couldn't count on anyone else doing it. I know that there are leaders within our community, but most of the time when there is work being done to the Latino community, it's often because they want to fix problems or they're addressing the stereotypical gang issues, etc. However, the Institute was very different. NHI viewed Latinos and the Latino community as an asset in this country, and it aligned really well with how I had seen my own family and the contributions that they could make in their life here in the US. As a teacher, I have access to about 150 students every single day, and I have an hour with them. And within that hour, I'm not just devoting my time to teaching them about English. When I walk into the classroom every day before students arrive, the vision and the mindset that I have is that I am preparing them to take over this community. And it is my dream and it is my goal that these young men and women that sit here in my classroom, it's my goal that they see this community, Delano, as the place where they're going to have influence.
I think I was really immersed in the topics of justice and social change while I was working on co-writing the play Wrestling with Angels and Demons with Scott Ireland, who was in the theater department when I was at Augustana. This was a project of 6 or 7 students. It featured predominantly students of color. I was the only white cast member, and we framed the entire play around kind of like group activities and things where we would dive into kind of things like words and coding language. Then we would all share our own personal story about our experiences with race and racism and experience at Augustana and beyond. My piece reflected on kind of my family history, growing up on the south side of Chicago, and being a predominantly a white community that they grew up in the south side of Chicago, and kind of the race dynamics that I heard my family talk about over the years. But I think this is like really where I began to understand somewhat the reality of minority student experiences at Augustana. Having to hear and understand and collaborate on a project where you try and understand race and racism at that kind of level really starts to open the door to how you connect these things among other aspects of your life. And so social justice and just justice and change in general is directly connected to what I do now with climate change science, and how these things all interconnect through public health, housing, and socioeconomics. So it really was my experiences working with this play in the theater department as an undergraduate at Augustana that really helped me start to develop that kind of aspect of my personality and my identity that seeks to understand and help those who suffer injustice.
I think the way that you handle and process instances of social injustice is to, first of all, be comfortable with calling it out and recognizing it. I think that we all live with our own biases, implicit biases, in which we assume that it's okay to speak of a certain group of people in a particular way, or it's okay to be dismissive of sensitivities as it pertains to another group of people, and it's just not. And I think what we need to make a decision as a campus community, as a society, is that we are going to be united in saying we will not tolerate that. We will not tolerate social injustice. We will not tolerate intolerance. We will not tolerate hate. And if you're not willing to call it out at school and at home and in the workplace, then I don't know how we get any better. And so that's what I've done. I've been challenging of areas where I found injustice in every aspect of my life. I do it at work. I do it in my family. I do it with my friends. And I certainly encourage this group to do the same.
It's about discovering your role, where your passion meets the world's greatest need. And you can do that by getting to know people unlike yourself, outside of your family, on a personal level, because that takes big complex social issues like, say, for example, housing discrimination, voter suppression, healthcare access, immigration reform, out of the abstract, and out of the abstract policy macro level into real life application. How are these systems? How are these policies affecting individuals and people that you know that you care about? So that helps bring it into real life, and then you can find, I feel like then it's easier for you to find, okay, where is my connection in all of that? For example, I am not good with numbers, I'm not good with science, so I steered clear from those departments as much as possible, and I knew that wasn't my strong suit. So it's about finding your strong suits and also your joy and your passion and where those needs, where those intersect. And if you're constantly only surrounded by your well-educated, health-insured, economically comfortable echo chamber, family and friends, you're going to miss out on a lot of reality and a lot of what the need that is in our society.
I think first and foremost, one of the biggest things that has taken a lot of time and continual kind of growth and exploration is really understanding my own privilege as a cisgendered heterosexual white male. There's very few experiences in my life where I've been targeted or harassed or made to feel less than in a kind of like systemic way. But virtually all of my colleagues who are females, people of color, and people of differing gender identity, pretty much throughout their entire lives have been systematically, harassed and targeted for being who they are. And so understanding that my privilege is so deep and pervades every single part of my day-to-day life is huge in trying to develop like empathy for others who have experiences that are fundamentally different than my own. If I'm not aware of how my day-to-day life is different from others, how could I ever expect to understand and process injustice?
That it is very easy to get upset about the slow pace of change. Over the last several months, as we have seen a rise in tensions regarding to race and justice and just the systems that have been set up socially, and how certain groups of people in the United States have greater challenges ahead of them than others, I've come to learn that all of the actions that need to happen are not going to take place in a single lifetime. And that realization actually came with the recent death of John Lewis. Clearly, he was one of the most dynamic individuals our nation has ever seen. He was committed to justice, and he was devoting his entire life to making sure that people who have challenges before them were able to overcome them through some of the legislation, laws, and the role that he played in their lives. And when he passed, I realized he didn't get to see it all happen. He didn't get to see a complete, I guess he didn't get to see his vision fully realized. And that can be discouraging, but with his passing, I realized how rewarding it must be for his family, his children, his grandchildren, to know the level of impact that he played on the lives of so many people.
As I pursue justice and social change in my career and life's calling, I'm continually inspired by the concrete reality of two simple things. One, I'm doing what's right, what people deserve, having access to the laws that exist. And two, I'm making a real impact on individual lives. I'm not solving it all, and I know that, but I'm helping serve, and I fight like hell for my clients. So that means they're not alone in this overwhelming, all too often unfair society that matters, and that's big. The other part of this is that my clients inspire me. I've had it so easy, so good in my life, whereas my clients, who are often mothers my age and older and younger, are survivors of torture, domestic violence, lifelong gender violence, gang violence, and they have been come to the United States and are treated like criminals by our government. Nevertheless, they are hopeful, they're badass, and they're resilient. So they inspire me every day by what they have gone through and what they continue to navigate once they get to our country.
In a predominantly Hispanic and Filipino community that I live in, I want to change the hearts and the minds of my students. I want to increase their self-worth. I want to raise their self-confidence. I want them to feel valued, and I want them to feel important. And the reason why I want that is because I had some of the most incredible individuals be a part of my life who gave me those opportunities, who allowed me to feel those things about myself. Had it not been for them, I would not be so vocal. I would not step up to leadership positions. I would not step up to challenges and try to overcome them. Because of the role certain individuals played in my life, I know that I have the capacity to make change. I want to be that for my own students. I want my students to know that they also within themselves possess the abilities and the capacities to create the world that they want.
Being able to build up people and build up communities is a real passion of mine. And I have to tell you, I think when I worked for the Senate, and I found blatant areas in which I felt like society and government had been discriminating on particular communities. And I spoke up and I spoke out. You know, there was an issue. I worked on a couple of environmental issues, as I mentioned, and there was an issue when I worked for the senator in which there is a community called Vernon, California. It is primarily an industrial city in East LA, but surrounding it is East LA, Boyle Heights, Montebello, historic Latino communities. These communities are 90+% Latinx. And there was a battery plant that for 80 years emitted lead, poisonous lead, into these communities. And the state of California knew about it. And the state of California continued to give this company temporary permits to operate, knowing that they were emitting lead into these communities. These communities have some of the highest rates of cancer, of birth defects, of autism in the region. And when I learned about it, what more can you do than to get the most powerful politician in California behind righting this wrong? And so I was really excited to partner and to work with Senator Feinstein and to be her staffer on trying to bring some environmental justice to this community. And what I found particularly frustrating is at the same time that we were dealing with this issue, there was a gas leak in an upper middle class white neighborhood in LA called Porter Ranch. And this was a significant environmental tragedy. But I have to tell you, the care and the attention that this upper middle class white community got in dealing with their environmental tragedy compared to what this poor immigrant Latinx community got in dealing with their tragedy. And they're still fighting. Many of the people in Porter Ranch have been paid and are doing fine. The people in East LA are still fighting. That pisses me off. And I felt like, why go and work in government? Why get involved in politics? Why make less money than you probably can make somewhere else? If you're not going to get into these jobs and get into these roles and swing from the fences. That's always been my philosophy. It was my philosophy as a student leader at Augustana, and it's my philosophy today.
Those lawyers were taught the black and white, what's a win? It's when your client wins in court. I win asylum. Or in my line of work also, when I'm able to reunite a mother and a child who've been separated, or when a client gets released from detention in order to pursue their asylum claim, or when a work permit is granted so an individual can support their family, or if someone gets their ankle monitor removed and just goes to in-person check-ins. Those are all huge wins. Connecting a client with counseling or other social services, because as an attorney, I am limited in what I can do, and I'm focused on their immigration work. I can't be their counselor and all their other social needs. Those are all very tangible wins.
I mean, academically, there are tests that measure, their abilities before the lessons, and then their conceptual understanding after the lesson or the unit is over. So that right there is an easy one to answer. However, if we're talking about how can I know whether or not I am making a difference in the lives of my students, in their lives, there is no true measure for that. I'll tell you that when I get a message from one of them letting me know how they are doing, it feels good to know that they have not forgotten me, and it's exciting to see what they're doing with their lives. Once they do graduate high school, I look forward to the opportunity to become friends with them on Facebook or through some form of social media, so that I can kind of track and follow and see what their lives are leading them to do, or what they are doing with their lives. When we're in the classroom, it is great to see the light bulbs turning on, especially when we're talking about topics relating to social justice and social change. It's exciting to me to see students become excited when they have the opportunity to participate in these topics, because it could be that I potentially introduced a new area of study for them that possibly they may consider pursuing. You are a change maker, is what I would want to tell myself. When I was a high school student, I was not confident. I would not participate. I did not want a seat at the table. I wasn't involved in clubs and organizations. I worked. I had a part-time job to help my family pay bills. And that's what it was to me. It was work. I enjoyed it, but I didn't see myself playing much of a role other than a student or an employee. When I got to Augustana and I had those unique learning experiences throughout those 4 years, I realized, with the help of professors and mentors and other supporters on campus, that I definitely could make change in this world. And in my life as a teacher, I do feel like I'm doing that. I can inspire students to pursue certain paths that maybe they had not been aware of previously. I can introduce the concept of college and how to get there and walk them through the process for those that might not have someone in their family or an older sibling like I did to help guide them through the process. I want them to know that the world is much bigger than Delano, and I want them to be able to look at other examples throughout the country as to what our community could look like. However, I do want them to know that when they do take advantage of the opportunity to travel and explore and learn in other places, that there will always be a place for them here at home, and that they could be an owner of the community that they grew up in. They are a change maker. I would want myself to understand that at the age of a high school student, because I think I would have taken things a bit more seriously. I want them to understand that they are working towards a legacy, and to maybe consider what that legacy is. What is the legacy that you're going to leave your family? And if you've not thought about that yet, well, you have an incredible 4 years ahead of you at Augustana, and you can start thinking about that now.
I would tell myself that, being comfortable with the uncomfortable is extremely important. And I think I knew that at that age. I was into improv comedy and was a really outgoing person. And so I knew what it felt like to be, exposed and uncomfortable and thinking on your feet and that sort of thing. I think that skill is extremely important towards having discussions and making actions toward justice. I also think that understanding the audience that you're speaking with is so critical as well. So acknowledging that people have these different life experiences that bring them into a conversation that, no one wants to be told that their experience doesn't matter or that their thoughts don't matter. And so I think understanding your audience and shaping your communication style to, align value systems, to find levels of agreement. What are the things that you can lead your conversations and discussions with that allow everybody to feel like they're on the same team? Um, and then you start to move forward towards the more, challenging conversations that might make particular people feel more uncomfortable. Um, but climate change communication shares a lot of commonalities with communication more generally, in that it's really important to understand your audience. It's really important to shape your communication to the audience that you're seeking to engage. And then, ultimately, I would tell my high school self that you have to show up and you have to continue to contribute after having a conversation. It's one thing to say something, it's a whole nother thing to then do something after saying it. And then it's another thing to check back and continue to iterate on what you did before. So, persistence and showing up are foundational to success in even marginal success in trying to develop some sort of program or action that leads to social change.
Number one, do what excites you, whatever it is: art, paint, dancing, history, politics, religion. Everything connects to serving others and making positive social change. So the most important thing is you're passionate about it, you do it, and then you find a way to connect it to your community and do good for others. Number two, get informed. Join listservs, very easy thing, the national level, at the local level. That way you're educated about the issues, as well as knowing when to show up for events and get involved. Number three, try it. You don't know how to get involved in, say, urban farming. Well, try it, Google it to find out what the local organization is in your area, or look on campus, see maybe there's a professor on campus who can help connect you. College is a great time to show up anywhere and say, hi, I've got time and I want to help. What can I do? So try it out, whatever it is that you're interested in. Big one here, number four, stay open-minded. Be humble. You have energy, and what you know is your life experience. This is an opportunity period of life to grow and expand your understanding of the world, to learn different perspectives. Just because it's different from your perspective, and maybe you've been taught to hate other people's perspectives because their perspective seems so hateful, for example. Other people's life experiences are going to be radically different than your own. So it's important that you listen to better understand where people are coming from and why they came to the perspectives that they hold. It's too easy to demonize the other. So I challenge you to learn about differing opinions and to better understand why. Lastly, in honor of the late RBG, fight for things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. Get after it, and please let me know if there's anything I could ever do to help support you in your journey.
We lost a lot of giants this year. Ruth Bader Ginsburg and namely John Lewis, who would say, if you see something happening that's wrong, that's not right, speak up, speak out, get in trouble, get in good trouble. I have been a strong-willed person my whole life. I feel very strongly about addressing injustice, and I've never regretted it. I've never regretted standing up for what I believe in. I've never regretted calling out a wrong. I've never regretted uplifting a classmate, a friend, a neighbor, a stranger. And you shouldn't either. This is our world. And it's only going to get better if we're committed to making it better. And it starts with us. It starts with you. So I would say to that high school student what I said earlier. Whether it's your parents, whether it's your teacher, whether it's your classmates, whether it's your boss one day, you have to promise yourself, you have to make a decision that I'm going to be a part of the solution, not implicitly stand by and watch the problem unfold. So get in trouble. In the words of John Lewis, get in good trouble. That would be my advice to a high school student.